Okay, so, excuse me, today we are going to be doing something a little bit different. Rather than reviewing a single book, today we are going to be reviewing an entire trilogy, the Hunger Games trilogy. So I have literally just 5 minutes ago come off reading the third and, in my opinion, final book of the Hunger Games series, and even though there is another book that recently came out, as a matter of fact it came out this year, in my opinion the series is done. I am done, and I'm about to tell you why. So, we are reviewing this entire trilogy. Usually when I do reviews, they are spoiler-free and spoiler, but for today, I'm just going to give one spoiler-free note, and then I'm going to jump into a completely spoiler-filled review, because it's just not going to work with me sitting here doing it spoiler-free at all, except to mention one thing, which is that the writing style of Suzanne Collins is really, really good. Not only is it simplistic as far as there is no flowery writing or metaphors, similes, anything like that, anything ye old English, there's nothing that's going to trip you up. It's really easy to read, but Susan Collins also, one thing she does really, really well is that she puts you in the mindset of her characters in such a good way that you literally not only feel like you are there where they are at, but you feel like you're literally inside their character's soul, and I really do appreciate that. But let's head over to the spoiler section where we discuss all three of these books, the Hunger Games trilogy by Suzanne Collins. So let's start off with book number one. What do you need to know? Because for me, this series it started off so well and ended up taking a nosedive. And this series is a classic example of how one or two, in my opinion, poor decisions can really ruin what was such an amazing beginning to a series. So let's start with book one. So, book one is called The Hunger Games, and it revolves around, well, I want to say three main characters, but I'm going to say two. Katniss, Everdeen, and Peeta, and I don't remember Peeta's surname. So basically the setup of this series is that it is set in a dystopian world where there are 13 districts, although District 13 no longer exists, so there are 12 districts, and every single year in this very dystopian world led by a massive tyrant, there is something that occurs that is called the Hunger Games. A little bit of a setup to how the Hunger Games actually came about. There was a time in this dystopian world called Pan Am where a war broke out, and the victors of that war wanted everyone in Pan Am to always remember the day that they rebelled against the area, so they set up this thing called the Hunger Games. Now, the way the Hunger Games works is that everyone that is of age, there's a certain age bracket. It is children from a certain age to... There's a minimum age and a maximum age, anyway, that's what I'm trying to say. And all the girls that reach that age range are placed, their names are placed into a bowl, and all the boys, their names are placed into another bowl. There is more to how everyone's names end up in the bowl. So once you turn that age, your name goes in. And I do believe that every year your name gets added again, but there are other things as well. Like if you are willing to sacrifice your name getting placed in again, you can get certain things. So you might get electricity or an extra loaf of bread or something like that. So anyway, every single year this Hunger Games takes place, and one girl and one boy that is eligible are pulled out of these respective bowls, and they need to compete in this event called the Hunger Games, which is literally a battle set inside the confines of an arena, a battle to the death. And it was interesting. This first book... In this first book, the first name that we see pulled out of the girls' bowl is Primrose Everdeen, which is Katniss Everdeen's sister, and this is the first year she's eligible to compete. Her name's only in there once, and it gets drawn out. And Katniss ends up volunteering to take her place, which is something that you can do, but it's very rare. Very seldom does this happen. But Katniss doesn't want her younger sister to be going into this arena, considering how young she is. So she straight away volunteers to take her place. Then Peeta Mellark, I'm now remembering his name, Peeta Mellark is also drawn from the men's bowl, and he is the male, or boys' bowl, I should say. He is the male representative of her district. She's in District 12. So 24 tributes end up going into the Hunger Games. 12 girls, one from each district, 1 to 12, and 12 boys, one from each district, 1 to 12, go into the Hunger Games. They compete, and again, this is spoiler, so, you know, we're going to talk about what happens. When we get down to the end, I think about 4 or 5, when there's 4 or 5 left in the arena, there's an announcement made that if the last 2 standing are from the same district, then both of them will survive. It won't just be one victor. So Katniss, who had not, well, Peeta, who had decided not to team up with Katniss this whole time, now he joins up with her, and ultimately, the 2 of them do become the final 2, and then an announcement is made, well, no, sorry, we lied. I mean, very dystopian world. We lied. There can only be one winner, so it's down to you 2. Let's see who's going to win. And there are these poisonous, I believe they're berries. It's been a couple months since I've read this, but poisonous, as I said, I think they're berries, that if you eat them, you die. And so Katniss grabbed some, gave them to Peeta, and said, you know what, we'll just eat these, we'll both eat them, we'll both die, and, you know, basically screw you, Panem. So they go to take these berries, and they're very quickly stopped, because as much as they want to have a victor, they don't want to have no victor, so the Overlord ends up saying, or announcing to them, okay, alright, stop, we have 2 winners of the Hunger Games, the end, and Katniss and Peeta both win. This sets up a lot of issues, because Katniss and Peeta have taken on an act of rebellion by doing this, and they've completely gone against the Hunger Games. So when they come out of the arena, despite the fact that most of Panem really love and adore and appreciate the fact that they've won, those working behind the scenes, especially President Snow, who is the main antagonist of the series, is very upset with them, and they become very well aware of this. So that is the end of this book. I do want to, however, go back to the beginning of the book when we have our 2 tributes, Katniss and Peeta, who are selected. Because there is something that happens that set me up for something that I wanted to see in book number 2. So, once selected, Katniss goes through a beautifying stage where she is, you know, given a total makeover, and they put makeup on her and, you know, give her a total makeover, beautiful costumes and outfits. She meets Cinna, who is her own personal fashion designer, and yeah, that whole thing is wonderful, and I love that. It gave me real Selection vibes, if you've read the Selection before. But also they meet their mentor, and the way that it works is, if you have a victor of a previous Hunger Games in your district, they are charged with the role of mentoring you from the moment that you've been chosen all the way through to the end. So the moments leading up, the moments that go between the tributes being selected and the tributes going into the arena, the mentor has a lot of work to do. The mentor will work, so our mentor's name is Hamish, by the way. Hamish works with Katniss and with Peeta to try and assist them in every way that he can to prepare them for what's coming up in the Hunger Games, and he tells them, look, you have no idea. Until you step in, you're just not going to know what it's like, but he tries his best to help them. Another part of the Hunger Games is gaining sponsorship, because if you gain enough sponsorship from sponsors, then while you're in the arena, the sponsors may end up giving you things to aid you while you're in the arena. For example, say that you need a bottle of water because you can't find anything to drink and you are dying of thirst. If you have sponsors, then a bottle of water can be parachuted into the arena for you to have. That's one example. So then once you're in the arena, it is the mentor's role to not only keep an eye out for you, but it is the mentor's role to determine when items are going to be distributed to you from sponsors and things like that. And they try to assist however they can. The reason I'm bringing this up is because once Katniss and Peeta win the Hunger Games, I was obviously very happy for them. I found this book to be a very shocking book to read because Susan Collins, as I said earlier, she writes in a way where you not only feel like you're there with the characters, but you feel like you're right there inside their soul, feeling what they're feeling, and it was just done so well. Because they won their Hunger Games, they would obviously go on to become mentors for whoever is drawn out next. And so that got me really excited to read book 2 because now we'd seen inside the Hunger Games firsthand what it's like to experience it as a tribute. Now in book 2, assumedly, we are going to experience what it's like to be a mentor. I ended up giving this book 5 stars. I loved it. I found next to nothing wrong with this book at all. I just thought it was really, really good. So we move on to book number 2, Catching Fire. And with this book, as I said, because of Hamish's role in book 1, and also because of the fact that Katniss and Peeta both won the Hunger Games in book 1, I was really looking forward to seeing Katniss and Peeta playing the role of mentors in this book. Now, I had no idea whether or not Hamish would become a mentor with them or not, but I had the feeling, and if it were me, I would take the creative liberty, being the author, to retire Hamish. Hamish has mentored so many people because one thing I failed to mention about book 1 is that Hamish won a Hunger Games that took place a very long time ago prior to Katniss and Peeta playing the games, that he has mentored so many others even before they were selected that to me it's time to retire Hamish. He's done a good job. He can now go and live his life in peace and go and retire, and now Katniss and Peeta can mentor whoever comes next. So I started reading this book really excited. I couldn't wait to see who was going to be selected to go into the arena from District 12 and to see how Katniss and Peeta would go about mentoring them from the moment that the respective male and female names are drawn out to the moment they go in the arena, to how they are outside of the arena looking in on what's going on with whoever they're mentoring and distributing these packages and so on and so forth. And I was really excited for this. What we end up getting in this book is Katniss, at the beginning, she goes through a very tough time because, of the physical and mental scars and wounding that she went through in the first book, and I completely understand that. But then comes time for the announcement of the next Hunger Games, and this is where the series takes a nosedive. So when Katniss and Peeta go into the arena, it is the 74th Hunger Games. This second book is the 75th Hunger Games, otherwise known as a quarter quell. Every quarter, so every 25 games, there is something special that occurs in that quarter quell. And we don't know what it's going to be this year, but I feel like Katniss and Peeta are preparing for whatever is coming. But this is where Susan Collins made her first, in my opinion, incorrect decision. It was a plot twist that changed this series to me for the worse and began a nosedive from an amazing book to a really good start with the second book to just this series absolutely plummeting. And Susan Collins made the decision, Susan Collins made the decision as the author. In the book, the Hunger Games people made the decision that for the third quarter quells, for the 75th Hunger Games, the tributes could only be former winners of the last 74 Hunger Games. So Katniss Everdeen is the only female in District 12 to ever win the Hunger Games, so she's automatically having to go back in, and already I'm not liking this because I wanted to see Katniss as a mentor, and now she's not going to be a mentor, she's going back into the arena, WTF, seriously, oh my god. Anyway, so then it's between Peeta and Hamish because they're both male victors to see who's going to go in, and ultimately Hamish gets selected, but Peeta ends up volunteering to take his place. So once again, straight after the 74th Hunger Games, back to back in the 75th Hunger Games, Katniss and Peeta are going back into the arena, and I did not like this. I did not want to go back in the arena with Katniss and Peeta because we've already seen this, and I really wanted to see them mentor their own tributes, and now it just wasn't going to happen. So by the time we finally get into the arena in this book, because in this one we get into the arena about halfway through, in this book we get into the arena about 3/4 of the way through, and one thing that annoyed me about Suzanne Collins' decisions that she made in this book is that we get to the arena halfway through in this book. Great. So we get Katniss primed and primped and all glamorized and all that for the first half and preparing for the Hunger Games. Second half is action in the Hunger Games. In this one, we're waiting, and if you're me, we're just waiting and waiting and waiting again. And we finally get into the Hunger Games with like 1/4 of the book to go. I'm sorry about the glare, which was really, really annoying. Anyway, finally we get to a point where there's a certain amount of people left. I don't remember how many, and Katniss does something, I'm still trying to remember what it is, but she does something that kind of causes the Hunger Games to come to an end really, really quickly. And the next thing you know, Peeta is abducted by the President Snow and his team, and Katniss ends up going with these people called the Rebels, and this is where everything completely falls apart. The first plot twist to have Katniss and Peeta re-enter the Hunger Games was where it started to fall apart, but my thought was, okay, Susan Collins, I'm willing to give you another chance. If in book 3 we have the 76th Hunger Games and Katniss and Peeta survive the 75th Hunger Games, then I'll still get to see what I want to see. But now, Peeta is locked away with President Snow and his team, and Katniss is over with these rebels, and yeah. We then go into book 3, and I am by this point extremely anxious to go into this book because suddenly it feels like a dystopian world where the author is forcing themselves to find a way to try and take this dystopian world that has become so popular, because despite the fact that it is a dystopian, it is a world where things aren't good at all. It is a world that people are loving because of the actual Hunger Games themselves. Suddenly, Susan Collins has made this decision to, this is my last book, I have to kind of get rid of the dystopianness of this world, and now we're in a war between the rebels and President Snow and his team, and the rebels want to not only end the Hunger Games themselves, but they want to kill President Snow and kill everyone else, and it just really annoyed me because if you have struck gold with your first book, with anything, if you're writing a series, please, authors, note this from me. If you struck gold with anything in your first book, to get rid of what you struck gold with for no other reason, in my opinion, no other reason other than to, I'm being forced to wrap up a series here, so I'm going to have to, get rid of this. Don't get rid of something that you struck gold with. Why would you do that? It's like a fantasy. It's like Mistborn, which you can't see, so I'll get it down. I won't give away spoilers for this book, but I will just say that this is a high fantasy book, high fantasy being it takes place in a world that's not our own, with hard magic systems. What makes this series so popular, or one of the reasons, is the magic system itself. It's really, really good. It's like Brandon Sanderson saying, okay, I've struck gold with this magic system. It's never been used before and everybody loves it, but you know what? I'm going to completely get rid of this magic system because I need to wrap things up. Why would you do that? You've struck lightning. Why would you get rid of something that everyone loves? It just makes no sense. So now we are spending this third book fighting a war that they're calling the Hunger Games for no reason. Like, the rebels are saying, this is our version of the Hunger Games. We're trying to kill President Snow. Really? Really? And it was just ridiculous. People are dying left, right, and centre, and in the end, President Snow ends up getting killed. The president of District 13, turns out there are people in District 13, it's just that they were in some underground bunker secretly where no one could find them, and there is a president there named President Coin, who ends up becoming the new president. And there are no more Hunger Games by the end of this book because President Snow dies, and then we have the epilogue. Katniss has kids, and while she's really happy that her kids will never end up in the Hunger Games, they will learn about it in school, and that is the end. What a way to nosedive from such an amazing 5-star beginning. 5-star beginning first book. 5-star beginning first quarter. So good, the first quarter of this book. To now let's make a decision to put Katniss and Peeta back in the arena. Why? What does this achieve? We've already done this. And see, this is the thing. I need to be very specific with what I mean when I say catching lightning in a bottle. The lightning caught in this book's bottle was not that Katniss and Peeta were in an arena known as and taking part in a tournament known as the Hunger Games. The lightning caught in this bottle is the Hunger Games event itself. It's very different to anything we've witnessed before. It is a very controlled environment where 24 tributes who are children go in, 12 boys and 12 girls go into this arena, and only one can survive. It's a battle to the death. That is the lightning you have captured in this bottle. Then, in this book, you're continuing on with the Hunger Games, but you're putting the same people that you put into this book in this book. And considering that one of those two people is your main character, your MC main character, we are literally experiencing the same thing if you look at it from an overview perspective. We're literally witnessing the same thing. Katniss back in the arena to battle again the Hunger Games. Why? Why would you do that again? Keep the Hunger Games. Take Katniss out of it. Put someone else in. Have Katniss mentor them. This evolves the story because now we're not in the Hunger Games. We are watching the Hunger Games from the outside in, which we have not done, but we are not completely getting rid of the Hunger Games. Now, as far as what I would do... So... as far as the first plot twist in Catching Fire being that the quarter quell is that everyone needs to return. Nay, sir, I'm completely against that. So I would first of all have no quarter quell. We would just have a normal Hunger Games. And yeah, Katniss and Peeta would be the mentors for whoever ends up going in. I don't necessarily know how I would end this book, but I would not have ended it the way that it did end, in that suddenly a war is breaking out between... suddenly a war is breaking out outside of the Hunger Games. The lightning you've caught in the bottle is the Hunger Games. So to first of all betray your readers by getting your protagonist to go back in again, which doesn't involve the story, is one nosedive. But then to end the second book in a really good series with a twist that is basically ensuring you're not going to have a Hunger Games in the third book, whether the third book is the final book or not. You're not going to have a Hunger Games in the third book. The lightning we caught in this bottle will not be in this book at all. No! No, are you mad? Why would you do this? It's so insane. So then we come to this book and there's no Hunger Games at all, and we're fighting this war, and it's just insane, and all these people die, and okay, I'm going to be the first to say, myself, I've written a number of amateur books that I've put up onto websites. I've spoken about this before, much earlier on in the year. I've published books on fictionpress.com and fanfic.com. I've written a number of amateur books, and I've come to learn as a writer that sometimes deaths are necessary. Not always, but sometimes they are. But when an author does something that is so completely unnecessary, the amount of people that die in this book, there's no need. There is absolutely no need to kill off this many people. And Prim dying at the end, one of the worst decisions that Susan Collins could make, aside from there's no Hunger Games at all in this book, in a series called The Hunger Games. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense at all. So let's go through my ratings very quickly again. So here's the nosedive for you in rating form. Book 1, The Hunger Games, received 5 stars from me. Book 2, Catching Fire, received 4 stars from me. I didn't like the decision of the 2 plot twists at all, as you guys now know, and I've explained my reasons why. In saying that, I do feel that the book was still a good book, I just didn't like the decisions, so I took off 1 star for that. Book 3, 2 stars. And I went into this book, I DNF'd it. I started reading this, I believe, in the first week. It was either the first or second week of July. And I DNF'd it. I did not finish it. I put it down. I was done. But then I decided to pick it back up and rate this book from the perspective of the intended audience. So, which is clearly not me. But even with the view of the intended audience, I need to keep in mind that this is not a standalone book. This is book 3 in a well fleshed out series. So, a series where people love the fact that it's a dystopian world, and a series that people love The Hunger Games, and this book makes the dystopian world that people love in the first 2 books non-existent, and this book also takes away the event that people love, the lightning in the bottle, The Hunger Games, away in this final book. So I don't see how anyone can love this book unless they came into this book wanting a happy ending, which it's really not a happy ending because so many people die, but an ending to this dystopian world that we grew to love in the first place, which to me is nonsensical. People love this world. It may not be a fun world. It may not be, sunshine and laughter and rainbows, but people love this idea because it's so completely different. So to smash it to bits, I don't know where this came from. It makes no sense to me. So 2 stars for this book because not only for me, but for the intended audience, the target audience, I still feel this is a 2-star book because it has dashed so many people, and I have not read the reviews of this book. I have seen 1 review, and when I say I haven't read the reviews, I mean on Goodreads. Generally on Goodreads, I'll have a look at what other people have said, but I've already put up my Goodreads review, 2 stars, so you can check that out on my Goodreads link. But I did watch the Book Michelle's review, and a big shout out to Books Michelle. Hey, she's an absolutely amazing booktuber. She did the same as I'm doing here. She did all 3, and she said the same as me, that this is her least favorite book, and that doesn't make sense, and that too many people are dying. And I completely agree. There was no point to it. And then the slap dab ending with the epilogue, how Katniss has kids and they will never go in the Hunger Games, which she loves, which I understand that, obviously she doesn't want her kids going in there, but they'll learn about it at school. It really was a slap dab ending. Like, we have to put a ray of sunshine at the end. So Katniss ends up marrying Peeta. Really? Why? To me, that makes no sense that she marries him at all, because this is not a love story at all. Even though Katniss and Peeta appear to be in love in the arena in book 1, that's all it is. It's for appearance sake. And in book 2, the same thing. It's for appearance sake. Everyone seems to love, and everyone in this world of Pan Am seems to love Katniss and Peeta being together, so they're playing it up, and now they get married, and there's no reason why. It makes no sense. So 2 stars for this book, and that is the end of my full-on rant review. As you can see, I'm very upset about this, how a series that started off so very well can make 1 to 2 decisions in its middle book and then suffer a complete and total nosedive from there. That is my review of the complete, in my opinion, because I'm not going to read the 4th book. I don't care. Apparently, President Snow is the protagonist in that book, and he's dead in book 3, so it makes no sense to me, and so I don't care. I don't want to read it. I don't want to know. So to me, this is the complete work of The Hunger Games, where, quite frankly, this should be the complete works of The Hunger Games. It should be a duology. It'd be much better if it was a duology. But anyway, sorry, I did that the wrong way. This should be the complete series. I mean, if we took away book 1, it'd be horrible. But anyway, that's my review. What do you guys think? What did you think of this trilogy? Have you read it? Let me know in the comment section below. You may agree with me. You may completely disagree with me. I'm open to all thoughts, so do let me know in the comment section below. Because this is a spoiler review, I have no problems with anyone commenting in a spoilery way in the comment section because it is highlighted, even in the title of this video, that it is a spoiler review. So I have no problems with you spoiling this or even spoiling the fourth book because I'm not going to read it. Alrighty. Mr. Francy needs to go and calm down because, I am so angry. I definitely think I will reread the first book at some point, and because I do love the first book. I just don't know if I'll ever read the second and third book again, and I'm probably going to get rid of these two and just hang on to this one. But there you go. I'm going to leave that there and let you guys go with peace, blessings, and so much love. Also, if you would like to comment below and let me know of author decisions that you've seen where authors have made one or two decisions that have taken a book that was so amazing and become an absolute nosedive, let me know. Or the other way around, if you've read a series where the first book was terrible, but then in the second book, one or two decisions really took it in an upward climb and just got better and better, let me know. Authors, if you're reading this, or potential authors, if you're reading this, please remember the ultimate rule, and I will leave you with this final thought. If you catch lightning in a bottle, do not smash that bottle, because if you do, you're going to really let down your readers, and your series is going to take an absolute nosedive. Until next time, letting you guys go. Peace, blessings, and so much love. Mwah. Thank you so much for watching. I post videos every Thursday and Sunday with reviews and other videos in between, and I'll see you again very soon. Bye guys, happy reading. Bye.